Greenville Utilities employees have always been committed to going the extra mile for our customers. But in September 1999, going the extra mile took on a whole new meaning during the flooding that followed Hurricane Floyd. GUC's heroic battle to maintain life-sustaining services to our community is a story of dedication, willpower, endurance, and support from our customers. Through ingenuity, faith, and a heroic team effort combined with the tremendous customer support, the employees of Greenville Utilities made it work. Here's our story.
The sheer size of Hurricane Floyd got everyone's attention as it headed up the East Coast in September 1999.
About 30 minutes ago, the winds really started picking up. It's really hard at times to keep your balance, even harder than it was before when you saw me blowing around here an hour ago.
Its hurricane force winds extended more than 125 miles. North Carolina's Secretary of Public Safety warned that Hurricane Floyd is huge, he's powerful, he's fast, and he's mean. Floyd was heading right toward Greenville Utilities service area. Local officials declared a state of emergency. Bread and milk vanished off grocery store shelves, and our entire community braced itself for this monster Category 4 storm with 150-mile-per-hour winds. Our service area was particularly vulnerable because just 2 weeks earlier, Hurricane Dennis had caused extensive damage and left 12 inches of rain. Overcast skies and rain had plagued eastern North Carolina after Dennis. As a result, our soil was completely saturated with nowhere for new rainfall to go. Normal levels for the Tar River are 3 to 4 feet above sea level. Flood stage is 13 feet. Because of Dennis, the river was at 17 feet, already 4 feet above flood stage. So even before Hurricane Floyd, the river had started to overflow its banks and water was lapping at doorsteps in low-lying neighborhoods. With Floyd approaching, officials feared the worst flooding in 20 years. At Greenville Utilities, we had activated our emergency storm plan Wednesday night. Crews and emergency operators were on duty, and we were ready, or so we thought. When Hurricane Floyd hit our service area in the pre-dawn hours of Thursday, September 16th, it had been downgraded to a Category 2. The initial impact was relatively minor. The storm brought torrential rain, but the wind never exceeded 70 miles per hour. There were some downed trees and several power outages, but nothing we couldn't handle. The phones at our operations center, for the most part, were silent. By Friday morning, it was a different story. What Hurricane Floyd lacked in wind, it made up for in water, lots of water. It quickly became clear that we were under siege by rapidly rising floodwaters. Floyd had unleashed much more than the predicted 5 to 6 inches of rain. Actually, it was more like 20 to 30 inches in just 24 hours. Essentially, Dennis and Floyd combined pelted eastern North Carolina with a half-year's worth of rain in just a few days. It would create not only the worst flooding in 20 years, but the worst flooding in 500 years. For 5 harrowing days, the Tar River kept rising and rising and rising until it finally crested at nearly 30 feet, 17 feet above flood stage. Tributaries and creeks overflowed, storm sewers backed up, and for nearly a week, floodwaters put 1/3 of our community, virtually everything north of the river, underwater, wiping out bridges, roadways, and unearthing caskets from graveyards. Flooding in the aftermath of Floyd would be blamed for at least 52 deaths and $6 billion in damage to homes and property in eastern North Carolina. Greenville-Pitt County was one of the hardest hit areas in North Carolina. Our dramatic plight made national news, and Greenville Utilities was at the center of the drama. Our employees were doing everything humanly possible to save our systems, and this superhuman effort was reported in detail. The public was pulling for us. During all those days of crisis, our customers were only without power for a relatively brief time. Our water plant never stopped treating water. The wastewater treatment plant kept operating the entire time, as did our gas system. In a way, our ability to maintain utility services against all odds became a symbol of hope amidst widespread devastation and destruction. It was a challenge that tested us to our limits.
Usually, within 24 hours, 48 hours, a storm calms down. This storm didn't. It was different.
Throughout the day, we saw evidence of the river rising, of the streams feeding the Tar River rising. Access to the operations center was limited. During the night, the river continued to rise, and the next morning we realized that we were quickly becoming an island and we made a decision that we needed to shift our restoration activity to some other place, and we chose to evacuate the operations center.
We went ahead and decided that we needed to get out of the building. Most of the people went ahead and left and got their personal vehicles. I had already moved my vehicle like 3 times during the course of the night and had even put it back in front of the meter department, which was supposed to be the highest point on our property. I didn't know what to do. I just felt like I needed to go ahead and take care of organizing everything and getting all the operators down to the main office. So I started shoving maps and phone books and telephones and anything I could find that we needed to save and utilize at the main office into one of these really big utility trash cans. And as I was doing that, my supervisor, James Bland, came up to me and just grabbed my arm and just told me that I needed to get on the next bucket truck, that I was out of there, that was the way it was going to be. And so before I knew it, that's what I was doing, stepping over the sandbags into water that was over knee deep, hopping on a bucket truck and looking at my Suburban and waving goodbye as they drove me through the fenced gate that they had cut out.
Well, on the logistics, of course, our mandate is just to do everything that no one else is doing, in a sense, supplying anything that's needed, whether it be food is always an important one, lodging, laundry, tools, fuel, sandbags, airplanes, helicopters, anything needed. Logistics goals or job was to try to get those items. When it started on Wednesday, the normal storm, we think, we're all over to Operations Center. We've always run all our storms out at the Operations Center. Where this one started getting, let's say, different or hairy, when we realized, as the water's rising over there, as this is going on, we're realizing we have to leave. And we didn't even know where to go to at first. I mean, there was no, where do you take us? Well, the decision was made to try to move all this entire operation to downtown office. So as we're, literally at that point, we now are evacuating this in dump trucks. We're trying to get all these people, because the dump truck's the only thing tall enough to get people out of here. I remember as we were trying to leave here, which route to take. We couldn't go the route we normally go by the airport. That's already lost all our vehicles out there from the flooding. So we go down Mumford and try to come around the other bridge. At that point, we're blocked at that first light, miles from even the Hastings Ford light, because everybody who was out looking at the storm to see what was going on. So it took us hours upon hours to get to the downtown office to get everything started.